The Fatal Mistake. High Admiral Zextol of the Velcaran Acquisition Fleet stood before the massive viewport of his command ship, the Eternal Hunger, watching as his stealth vessels slipped through the darkness of space. His silver-scaled skin rippled with anticipation, all four of his eyes fixed on the distant human colony of New Horizon. The settlement's biodome glowed softly against the burgundy surface of the desert planet below. "Status report," he commanded, his translator converting the clicking sounds of his native tongue into standard galactic common. First Officer Immerse approached, her tentacles writhing nervously as she consulted her datapad. "The human settlement's defensive grid remains inactive, High Admiral. Our quantum dampeners are functioning at optimal efficiency. They have no idea we're here." Zextol's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. The humans had established this colony barely 2 planetary cycles ago, and intelligence suggested their defensive systems were still being installed. It was the perfect opportunity, one that would make the Velcaran Syndicate the most feared name in the Outer Rim. "Begin the extraction sequence," he ordered. "Remember, priority targets only. Ages 6 to 12 Earth Standard Years. Their cognitive plasticity makes them ideal for our purposes." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, initiating the carefully planned operation. Zextol had spent months studying human physiology, psychology, and social structures. The species was remarkably protective of their young, a weakness he intended to exploit. Once they had the children, the humans would have no choice but to meet their demands. The Velcaran transport ships descended through New Horizon's atmosphere, their advanced cloaking technology rendering them invisible to conventional sensors. They targeted the colony's education center during the local night cycle, when security would be minimal. "Sir," Immerse called out, her voice tinged with concern. "The human settlement's power signature just dropped by 60%. Zextol dismissed her worry with a wave of his clawed hand. "As expected, their systems are still unstable. Proceed with the operation." The extraction teams moved swiftly through the sleeping colony. Using sophisticated stasis fields, they lifted 37 children from their beds without triggering a single alarm. The operation was a masterpiece of planning and execution, completed in less than 20 Earth minutes. As the transport ships ascended with their precious cargo, Zextol allowed himself a moment of pride. This would be remembered as the day the Velcaran Syndicate proved itself superior to the supposedly mighty human military. "All teams reporting successful extractions, High Admiral," Immerse announced. "No casualties, no alerts triggered. The humans remain unaware." "Excellent." Zextol's scales shifted to a bright silver, a sign of pleasure in his species. "Set course for the Crimson Void. Once we're safely hidden in the nebula, prepare the ransom demands. The humans will pay dearly for their children's return." The Eternal Hunger and its escort fleet engaged their quantum drives, disappearing into the darkness of space. Behind them, the colony of New Horizon continued to sleep, its power systems still mysteriously subdued. What Zextol couldn't know, was that the colony's power reduction was not a malfunction. Deep beneath the surface of New Horizon, in a heavily shielded command center, Colonel Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Force Special Operations watched the Velcaran ships disappear from her quantum tracking display. Contact confirmed, she spoke into her secure comm channel. "Operation Honeypot is a success. The Velcarans took the bait. 37 augmented security cadets, all equipped with neural transmitters and dormant combat programming, are now aboard their command ship." The response came instantly from EDF High Command. "Excellent work, Colonel. Phase 1 complete. Initiate Phase 2. The 7th Fleet is already en route to your position. Today, we finally rid ourselves of the Velcaran problem." Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The Velcarans thought they were dealing with helpless human children. Instead, they had just taken aboard 36 of the most sophisticated infiltration units ever created. Teenagers who had volunteered for the program, enhanced with cutting-edge biotechnology, and trained since early childhood for exactly this mission. In the cargo hold of the Eternal Hunger, 12-year-old Marcus Jung lay motionless in his stasis field, his enhanced consciousness already mapping the ship's energy signatures. Next to him, his twin sister Maya was doing the same, their neural implants synchronizing data and preparing for the moment they would be released from stasis. The children's consciousness spoke through every communication channel in known space, their collective voice carrying a message that would echo through generations. We are the guardians now, not just of humanity, but of all children, all innocents, all those who cannot protect themselves. We see the quantum strings that bind all life together. We feel the connections that make us one. Maya and Marcus Jung, their minds now part of something far greater than themselves, stood at the heart of this new consciousness. Through them, through all the enhanced children, humanity had created something unprecedented, a protective force that spanned the galaxy itself. This is our truth, their collective voice declared. Every child taken from their home made us stronger. Every attempt to prey on the innocent helped us evolve. We are not your victims. We are not your test subjects. We are the consequence of every cruel choice, every dark decision, every moment you thought you could treat children as commodities. In the decades that would follow, the galaxy would remember this as the moment everything changed. The trafficking networks were destroyed, yes, but something more important had been born. A new form of consciousness, built from humanity's determination to protect not just their own children, but all children. The Galactic archives would record that this was the day the galaxy learned its final lesson about humanity. Never mistake patience for weakness. Never confuse preparation for surrender. And above all, never ever threaten their children. For in doing so, you don't just awaken a sleeping giant. You create your own nemesis, one conscious thought at a time. But the ship's security forces were already encountering problems of their own. Throughout the massive vessel, systems were failing in seemingly random patterns. Communication channels filled with static. Weapon lockers sealed themselves. Blast doors activated without command. Maya Jung, her own eyes glowing like her brother's, sat up in her stasis pod and spoke in perfect Velcaran. High Admiral Zextal, in accordance with Earth Defense Force protocols, we are now assuming control of your vessel. The children moved with impossible speed and coordination, their enhanced bodies executing maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. The few security officers who managed to reach the medical bay found their neural stunners useless against targets whose nervous systems had been specifically hardened against such weapons. In her command center, Sarah Chen watched through multiple feeds as the children systematically secured key points throughout the ship. "Status report," she commanded. Marcus's voice came through clearly. "Engine room secured. Maya has the bridge. All critical systems are under our control. Minimal resistance encountered. No casualties as per mission parameters." "Excellent." Sarah opened a channel to Fleet Command. "Admiral Rodriguez, Phase 3 is complete. The Eternal Hunger is under our control. You may begin your approach." In the depths of space, the massive ships of the 7th Fleet dropped out of quantum drive, their weapons primed and targeting systems locked on the Velcaran support vessels. Admiral Rodriguez stood on his bridge, watching as the trap closed. "All ships, this is Fleet Command." His voice rang through the secured channels. "The children have secured our primary target. You may now disable the remaining Velcaran vessels. Non-lethal measures only. We want prisoners to stand trial for their crimes against humanity." High Admiral Zextal, now secured in his own brig, watched in horror through the security feeds as human warships materialized around his fleet. The vessels were massive, their design unlike anything in known space, bristling with weapons that made his own ships look primitive in comparison. "How?" he demanded of Maya Jung, who stood guard outside his cell. "How is this possible?" The young girl's glowing eyes fixed on him with an unsettling intensity. "Did you really think we wouldn't be prepared? That we wouldn't have contingency plans? The galaxy has been stealing human children for centuries. Admiral, Every race that tried thought they were the first, thought we were weak. None of them exist anymore. She leaned closer to the energy barrier, her voice dropping to a whisper. We're not just children, Admiral. We're the answer to a question the galaxy keeps asking. How far will humanity go to protect its own? Today, you get to help us demonstrate that answer. Again. Outside, the human fleet began its work, methodically disabling the Velcaran ships one by one. The message would soon spread throughout the galaxy. The children of humanity were not prey. They were the bait in a trap centuries in the making, and the Velcarans had just become its latest victims. The hunter becomes the hunted. First Officer Mirash watched in stunned silence as the massive human warships systematically disabled the Velcaran support fleet. Their weapons were precise, elegant, each shot perfectly calculated to cripple rather than destroy. It wasn't a battle. It was surgery. Send the surrender signal, she ordered, her tentacles writhing in distress. All ships, power down weapons and... A blast rocked her vessel as another cruiser, attempting to flee, collided with their shields. Through the viewport, she watched as human fighters swarmed around the stricken ship, their energy nets containing the debris to protect the surrounded Velcaran crews. On the bridge of the EDF Righteous Fury, Admiral Rodriguez coordinated the operation with cold efficiency. Status report on the civilian vessels, he commanded. 3 passenger liners detected hiding in the nebula's outer rim. Sir, his tactical officer responded. Life signs confirm mostly non-combatants, likely slave traders and their merchandise. Rodriguez's jaw tightened. Deploy the Valkyrie teams. Priority rescue protocol. Throughout the fleet, specialized boarding craft launched from their motherships. Inside each, heavily armored human soldiers checked their gear one final time. These were the Valkyries, the elite troops specifically trained for hostage rescue in Zerog environments. Captain Elena Santos led Valkyrie Team Alpha, her quantum-enhanced armor allowing her to sense the emotional states of her squad. Their anger was a controlled burn, precisely channeled. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. Remembered, she spoke through their neural link. We're dealing with civilians from at least 12 different species. Many have been in captivity for years. Containment fields up. Trauma protocols in effect. Their boarding craft attached to the nearest passenger liner with surgical precision. Within seconds, they were through the hull, their armor's advanced systems already mapping the vessel's interior and identifying life signs. Meanwhile, aboard the captured Eternal Hunger, the enhanced children had begun accessing the Velcaran databases. Maya Zhang, her neural implants interfacing directly with the alien systems, discovered something that made her blood run cold. Colonel Chen, she transmitted, we found evidence of a larger network. The Velcarans aren't working alone. They're part of an organized trafficking ring spanning 3 sectors. In her command center, Sarah Chen's expression hardened. Upload everything to Fleet Intelligence. Every name, every location, every accomplice. She opened a channel to Admiral Rodriguez. Sir, this operation just got bigger. We're going to need more ships. Rodriguez's response was immediate. The 3rd and 5th fleets are already en route. The Security Council has given us full authorization. We're burning this entire network to the ground. The news spread through the human forces like a wave of cold fire. This wasn't just about punishing the Velcarans anymore. This was about ending a threat to all species' children. In his cell, High Admiral Zextal was beginning to understand the true magnitude of his error. The human child guarding him, Marcus Zhang, hadn't moved or spoken in hours, but his glowing eyes tracked every movement. You're not just soldiers, are you? Zextal finally asked. What are you? Marcus turned those luminescent eyes toward him. We're the consequence, he said simply. Every time someone took human children, we adapted, evolved, created something new to ensure it would never happen again. My sister and I, we're Generation 15 of Project Guardian, each iteration more advanced than the last. How many generations are there? However many it takes, Marcus's voice was calm, almost gentle. Until the galaxy learns that human children are not prey. Until every species understands that taking our young isn't just a crime, it's suicide. Above them, the battle, if it could be called that, was entering its final phases. The Valkyrie teams had secured the passenger liners, freeing hundreds of captives from dozens of species. The Velcaran military vessels were disabled, their crews contained. Sarah Chen received the final confirmation from Fleet Command. The 3rd and 5th fleets had arrived at their designated coordinates. The next phase could begin. All Guardian units, she transmitted to her enhanced charges. Initiate Protocol Omega. Download everything. Every database, every communication, every contact. We're going to dismantle this entire operation, piece by piece. The children's neural networks lit up with activity as they tore through the Velcaran systems, their quantum-enhanced minds processing data at speeds that would have driven unaugmented humans insane. Maya's voice came through the command channel. Colonel, we've identified 37 major hub worlds, 12 primary staging areas, and over 200 accomplices in positions of power, including, she paused, including some within the Galactic Council itself. Sarah's smile was cold. Perfect. Admiral Rodriguez, are you receiving this? Loud and clear. Colonel, the Security Council has just upgraded our authorization. We are now operating under the Omega protocols. Throughout human space, more fleets were mobilizing. The Velcaran incident had scratched the surface of something much darker, and humanity's response would shake the foundations of galactic society. As the massive dreadnoughts of the 3rd and 5th fleets took up their positions, Admiral Rodriguez opened a channel to all human forces. Operation Guardian is now entering Phase 4. All units prepare for extended deployment. Today, we don't just send a message, we change the galaxy. The day of reckoning had arrived, not just for the Velcarans, but for every species that had ever dared to prey upon the young. Humanity was done playing defense. Now, they would show the galaxy why their children were both the most tempting targets and the most dangerous weapons ever created. Wrath of the Parents. Counselor Vexthrax of the Galactic Council watched in mounting horror as his private terminal displayed alert after alert. Across 3 sectors of space, human warships were appearing in unprecedented numbers. Not just military vessels. These were specialized hunter-killer groups, each targeting specific locations with terrifying precision. They know, he whispered, his scales turning pale. Somehow, they know everything. His emergency quantum communicator chimed. The message was short. The children remember, Counselor. They remember everything. On the bridge of the EDF Righteous Fury, Admiral Rodriguez watched as tactical displays showed human forces systematically dismantling the largest trafficking network in known space. The Valkyrie teams had already liberated 17 holding facilities, their quantum-enhanced armor and advanced weaponry making short work of any resistance. Sir, his communications officer called out, incoming transmission from Guardian Control. Colonel Chen requests immediate conference. Sarah Chen's hologram materialized on the bridge, her expression grim but satisfied. Admiral, the children have completed their data extraction. You're not going to believe what we found. Try me, Colonel. The trafficking network isn't just criminal, it's governmental. We've uncovered evidence of at least 30 different species governments using it to acquire research subjects from developing worlds. The Velcarans were just middlemen. Rodriguez's expression hardened. Send everything to Fleet Intelligence. And Sarah, tell the children, tell them they've done more than enough. They can stand down now. That's just it, sir. Sarah's hologram flickered slightly. They're refusing to disengage. The neural network has evolved beyond our projected parameters. They're not just sharing information anymore. They're sharing consciousness. In the captured Velcaran vessel, Maya and Marcus Zhang stood perfectly still, their glowing eyes fixed on nothing as their enhanced minds reached out through quantum space. Through their shared consciousness, they touched the minds of thousands of other enhanced children across human space. All of them linked, all of them awakening to their true potential. "We see them all now," Maya whispered, her voice carrying through the neural network to every human ship in the fleet. Every child taken, every life stolen, every world that thought they could prey on the innocent. We see everything. The tactical displays on the Righteous Fury suddenly blazed with new data as the children's collective consciousness interfaced directly with the fleet's quantum computers. Hidden bases appeared as bright points of light. Secret hyperspace routes unveiled themselves. The entire dark infrastructure of galactic trafficking laid bare. "Admiral," Marcus's voice joined his sisters in the network. "We're not weapons to be stood down. We're the cure to a disease that's infected this galaxy for too long, and we've just achieved critical mass." Throughout human space, more children were linking into the network, not just the enhanced ones, ordinary human children, their natural empathy and neural plasticity allowing them to join the growing consciousness. It was an emergence that humanity had prepared for, but could never fully predict. In her command center, Sarah Chen watched with a mixture of awe and concern as the network expanded. "Admiral, I don't think we can stop this even if we wanted to. The children, they're evolving." Rodriguez stood silent for a long moment, watching as more data poured in from the linked consciousness. Finally, he spoke. "Then we don't stop it. We protect it. All ships, new priority. Form defensive perimeter around Guardian assets. Nothing gets near those kids." On world after world, corrupt officials and traffickers found themselves exposed as the children's consciousness reached into every database, every secure network, every hidden archive. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable, and broadcast simultaneously across all galactic communication channels. In the Galactic Council chambers, Counselor Vexthrax and his co-conspirators watched their carefully constructed world crumble. The emergency session was chaos as species after species discovered their representatives' involvement in the trafficking network. The human ambassador stood calmly in the center of the storm, her voice carrying over the pandemonium. "For centuries, you thought our expansion into space was slow because we were primitive. The truth, we were building something new. Something that could ensure no species would ever again think of our children, any children, as commodities." Through quantum space, Maya's voice echoed in the council chamber. "We are not your test subjects. We are not your resources. We are the guardians of innocence, and we have remembered every crime, every victim, every moment of suffering. Today, that debt comes due." The human fleets moved with unstoppable precision, their targets designated by the expanded consciousness of thousands of linked minds. Boarding teams breached hidden research facilities. Strike forces seized black market auction houses. Quantum-enhanced soldiers liberated holding cells built beneath the very foundations of supposedly civilized worlds. And through it all, the children watched, their shared consciousness growing, learning, evolving into something the galaxy had never seen before. They were no longer just victims or weapons. They were becoming the instrument of fundamental change. High Admiral Zextal, still in his cell aboard his captured flagship, felt the shift in the very air around him. "What have we awakened?" he asked his young guard. Marcus Jean turned those glowing eyes toward him. But now they held something more than just enhanced intelligence. They held the weight of thousands of minds, millions of memories, and a purpose that transcended mere vengeance. "You awaken the future," he said simply. "And the future remembers everything." The children's apparent sleep masked their true nature. Each was a perfect fusion of human determination and advanced technology, their bodies enhanced with programmable nanomatrices, their minds linked through quantum entanglement. They were the product of Project Guardian, humanity's response to a galaxy that had repeatedly underestimated them. Sextal's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "This is a historic day for our people. The humans will soon learn their place in the galaxy's hierarchy." In her command center, Sarah Chen received the transmission through the children's neural feeds. "No, "Admiral Zextal," she whispered. "Today the galaxy learns why human children are off-limits." She opened a secure channel to the approaching 7th Fleet. "All ships, this is Colonel Chen. Operation Honeypot is proceeding as planned. The Velkarans are heading for the Crimson Void with their precious cargo. They think they've found our weakness. Instead, they've invited our strength into the heart of their operation." The response came from Fleet Admiral Rodriguez aboard the EDF dreadnought Righteous Fury. "Understood, Colonel. The fleet will maintain pursuit at quantum distance. Once the children activate their combat protocols, we'll close the net. Today, we end the Velkaran threat once and for all." As the Eternal Hunger disappeared into quantum space, its crew celebrated their flawless victory, unaware that they had just sealed their own fate. They had failed to ask themselves a crucial question. Why had it been so easy to abduct children from a species known for its military prowess? The answer would soon become terrifyingly clear. Awakening the giant. The Eternal Hunger's medical bay hummed with activity as Velkaran scientists examined their sedated captives. Chief Researcher Kilvesh moved from stasis pod to stasis pod, his sensor wand passing over each sleeping child. The readings made his secondary heart flutter with excitement. "Fascinating," he muttered, adjusting his optical enhancers. "Their neural patterns are remarkably uniform, almost too uniform." He turned to his assistant, gesturing at the displays. "Have you ever seen anything like this?" Before his assistant could respond, High Admiral Zextal entered the medical bay, his silver scales now tinged with streaks of gold, a sign of triumph in Velkaran physiology. "Report, Chief Researcher. What have you learned about our guests?" Kilvesh's tendrils twitched as he organized his thoughts. "The children appear to be in perfect health, High Admiral. However, there are some unusual readings I can't quite explain. Their brainwave patterns show remarkable synchronization, and their cellular structure." He paused, mandibles clicking in confusion. "It's almost as if their bodies have been optimized somehow." "Optimized?" Zextal's 4 eyes narrowed. "Explain." "Their muscle density, bone structure, neural connectivity. Everything is operating at peak theoretical efficiency for their species. It's as if—" The researcher's voice trailed off as an uncomfortable thought formed. "As if what?" Zextal demanded. "As if they were engineered, sir." The High Admiral's scales rippled with dismissal. "Impossible. Our intelligence confirms these are ordinary colony children. The humans barely have faster-than-light travel. They couldn't possibly possess such biotechnology." In the command center of New Horizon Colony, Colonel Sarah Chen watched this exchange through the children's neural feeds, a small smile playing at her lips. "Oh, Admiral," she whispered, "you have no idea what we possess." She opened a secure channel to the approaching EDF fleet. "Admiral Rodriguez, the Velkarans are beginning to notice anomalies in the children's biology. Recommend accelerating the timeline." The response was immediate. "Agreed, Colonel. The 7th Fleet is in position. Task Forces Hammer and Anvil are moving to cut off their retreat vectors. You may proceed with Phase 3. Sarah's fingers danced across her quantum-encrypted console, sending a coded burst transmission. Throughout the Eternal Hunger's medical bay, subtle changes began occurring in the children's neural patterns. Back on the Velkaran flagship, alarms suddenly blared on Kilvesh's medical monitors. "High Admiral, the children's brain activity is spiking across all frequencies." Before Zextal could respond, the ship's primary lighting failed, plunging the medical bay into emergency illumination. The stasis fields flickered and died. 12-year-old Marcus Zhang opened his eyes, now glowing with a faint blue luminescence, the visible sign of his activated combat protocols. Around him, 36 other children were awakening, their enhanced bodies and minds synchronized through their quantum neural network. "Security," Zextal bellowed into his communicator. "Get down here now."